if I have to.
We're ready when you are.
Thanks. All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome. I would like to call the regular meeting of the Cathedral City Council for Wednesday, February 20th. All right, it's green. It's staying green now.
Yes.
Yes.
For a second. Okay. As I was saying, today is Wednesday, February 25th, 2026. I will call this regular meeting to order and ask for a roll call, please. Oh, wait a second. That's the other meeting. We like to start this meeting off with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we follow that up with an invocation, if you would remain standing for both.
Thank you. If you would please join me in saluting the flag of our nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And please remain seated. Stand. Doing something.
God, thank you for allowing us to be here this evening. Let us come together with open hearts and minds as we seek to serve our community with integrity, respect, and vision. May our decisions be guided by wisdom, compassion, and a commitment to the common good. Lord, it is in your precious name that we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Councilmember Ross and Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez. And now we'll ask for the roll call.
Councilmember Gordon?
Here.
Councilmember Ross?
I'm here.
Councilmember Lamb?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez?
Here.
Mayor Gregory?
Here. All right, the next item on our agenda is agenda finalization. Are there any changes to the agenda for the regular meeting?
Yes, Mayor, there is a change. Staff would like to pull and remove consent item 3E and schedule this for a future meeting.
Thank you so much. So 3E will not be heard tonight and will be scheduled at a future meeting. All right, the next item on our agenda is a special treat. We have a special recognition tonight from Patsy's Promise, and I'll ask the city manager to introduce the item.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. So this evening, I would like to introduce Patsy and have this item brought before City Council. Thank you.
All right, welcome, Patsy.
Thank you, Mayor. I come with bottles. Yes, please. Thank you.
So I'm going to talk on behalf of the Boys and Girls Club and Miss Patsy.
All right, I see Cara Robinson from the Boys and Girls Club.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Gregory, members of the City Council, and City Manager. On behalf of the Boys and Girls Club of Cathedral City, thank you for your continued partnership and unwavering support of our youth. Your belief in our mission and your investment in young people make a measurable difference in the lives of the family across our city. 1 year ago, Miss Patsy made a promise to help purchase a new vehicle for the Boys and Girls Club of Cathedral City so we could reach more youth in our hometown. Today, I'm proud to say that promise has been kept. Like many growing communities, Cathedral City faces a very real challenge. Too many children who need a safe, supportive place after school and not enough transportation to get them there. For many working families, the barrier is not willingness, it's logistics, it's distance, it's access. We knew the solution was clear. A new club van would mean safe rides, consistent attendance, and access to life-changing programs for youth who were previously out of reach. Because of this new van, we are now able to pick up students from 2 schools we have never served before, Nellie Kaufman Middle School and Cathedral City Elementary School. That means more opportunity, more stability, more young people walking through our doors each afternoon instead of being left unsupervised. And that solution is now rolling through our streets. This incredible effort was spearheaded by Dinner with Patsy. Thank you so much, Patsy. This endeavor was in partnership with NBC Palm Springs, with beautiful visual support from Canyon Print and Signs, who helped bring the project to life. But most importantly, this became a reality because of the collective generosity of our community. Tonight, I want to specifically recognize and thank the Cathedral City Professional Firefighters Association, the Cathedral City Police Officers Association, the Cathedral City Police Managers Association, the City of Cathedral City, and Mayor Raymond Gregory for stepping up in a powerful way to help make this van possible. Your investment is more than a vehicle. It is access, it is safety, it is mentorship, it is opportunity. When our first responders, our city leadership, and our community partners come together for kids, it sends a strong message: our youth matter. So, thank you.
This is what community looks like. Making dreams and promises come true. Isn't it amazing what we can do together for our hometown if we take the time to care for, if we don't take the time to care for our hometown, who's gonna? We have a little reminder on how fabulous we work together. And of course, this is done with lots of swoop. So my first one is to the Cathedral City Professional Firefighters Association. And I know where they are, so I'll go ahead and run that one right back over to them. The second one is to the Cathedral City Police Officers Association and the Cathedral City Police Officers Managers Association. Come here. And this is a thank you letter from both myself and Scott Robinson, the director of the Boys and Girls Club of Cathedral City. And this is a lovely artist group of the band on what it looks like that you guys were part of. We'll take a little moment to do this. So please, find a place at that little drab office building and put those up so everybody knows. Patsy says thank you. Thank you, we appreciate it. You're welcome. Andy, guess what? I've got one for you too. You weren't here yet, and although Ann was the one I spoke with at the time, but you know, you're the boss now, so. Here's also a thank you letter and something for you to share with your staff. You guys have always stood behind Patsy and have always said, Patsy, what can I do for you? How can we help? What can the city do? And it's things like this that gets your pretty little logo, where is it? Right there somewhere. Right there on the van that shows you support the Boys and Girls Club and making sure that things happen within our hometown. Thank you, darling. Mayor, may I approach?
Oh, I'll come.
Or are you going to come down and visit me? I actually should say Mayor Pro Tem, because the first time I asked you for money, you were Mayor Pro Tem. The second time I asked you for money, you were mayor.
And you got money both times.
And I got money. And we put your name right at the very top on the van that says Mayor Raymond Gregory. We decided to go with that one because, you know, being the unofficial First Lady of Cathedral City, yes, you know, titles are everything and places mean a lot. So Raymond, thank you so much for everything that you have helped me with and things that you have done with this city. And once again, I will say my tagline, it's our hometown. If we don't take care of it, who's going to? Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your time, council. I really appreciate it. Nancy and Ernesto, Rita, and oh, I know you. Give me a second. I'll get it out. Ms. Gordon, yes. I hate that when it happens. My wig's too tight. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. It's wonderful when you join me for dinner, and it's wonderful when we make a difference in our hometown. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much for this project and for all the work you do in our city here. All right, so next is public comments. This is the part of our agenda where you can make public comments on items that are not on tonight's agenda. Just a couple of things. First of all, we do have an item on tonight's agenda involving C4's dispensary license. So if you are going to speak on C4's dispensary license, the appropriate time for you to speak on that would be during that item. If you want to speak about something else to do with cannabis or C4 that is not the dispensary license, this would be the time to make those comments. So hopefully, I know this clerk was sorting those out, but if you haven't sorted that out with the clerk, you may want to do that while we're taking these public comments. Also, I want to remind everyone that during public comments, we do not allow any verbal outbursts, including clapping, cheering, booing, those kind of things. When people come to make a public comment, they should be able to do so without feeling uncomfortable. And so we don't allow that, and we're also going to try to move that on. So we ask you to control yourself. If you can't control yourself at some point, we will have to ask you to leave, but I just wanted to share that. So this is the time for public comments. Hopefully you have filled out a comment card and delivered it to the clerk. If you haven't, you have a chance to do so while other people are speaking. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. So now I will turn to the city clerk to share with us who has turned in slips to speak.
The first speaker is Janet Ream.
Good evening, Mayor and
Good evening, Janet.
Council. 2 weeks ago when I was here, when we spoke, and I told you I didn't recognize or know any of the other people that had spoke about the odor coming through, not just from C4, but through the Perez. I have since, had a couple of conversations with these people, and I want to say that I was kind of leaning just towards what was coming out, in our area. But this is an ongoing issue for many years with the Perez and that area with the odors. Then we have C4 that is huge compared to most of these smaller places. We have to, at some point in time, how many extensions, how many extra time do they get, how many fines before if they cannot control it, they do not need to be shut down. And that's hard to say because we appreciate, these people having jobs, good paying jobs. But then we have been suffering for years also. Cathedral City has tried and is trying to become an up-and-coming city. I was at the planning meeting where it was talking about all of the auto dealerships and the different things that was going on there. That can't be a positive for this city. We have to come to some type of resolution that the odors have got to be contained within these places, or they need to find some other place to have their businesses rather than be it on top of us and us having to smell it. At times, had the smell been better? Yes, but no. I mean, middle of the nights, yesterday was horrible. And when you get a phone call saying, that you didn't smell anything, residents don't appreciate that very well at all. And I don't know how in the world they ever got anybody's detailed information other than reporting it through the city's website. Anyway, I am pleading with the city to have some type of end game for all of us to be able to live cohesively, hopefully, together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next speaker.
The next speaker is Mary Ellen Muir.
Hello, Mayor
Welcome.
and council members. Thank you for the opportunity. I just wanted to urge you to enforce the regulations that supposedly are in place regarding the owner. I too live where Janet lives. I can actually smell it right now, but not from there, from other places. But at times it is just gagging. We have a clubhouse. Sometimes when the doors open, it just permeates in there. It's over at the shopping center where we do business, so it's not just where we're living. You also have made the reporting of this order very cumbersome. It used to be we did about 5 clicks and that was it. Now you have to put in your full name, your email address, and your phone number, and your full address, as well as then, so if you start that, and you're riding in a car, right, not driving, and you're going down Ramon, by the time you get to the wash, you're not even done yet, and now you have to figure out where you are because it's not right there that you reported it, so you have to indicate. So if any of you have tried to report it now, and then you don't get any notification, you don't know whether it went to a black hole or not. So reporting has been down, and I'm sure that's why. It's just too darn cumbersome. Lastly, I haven't been here since last fall, and C4 had orchestrated some of their employees that really tugged at our heartstrings about their jobs. But right now, I believe unemployment in Cathedral City is at a low of 4.7%. It is a workers' market. People can go out and get other jobs. We're looking at Desert Hot Springs that did a great job of bringing in Amazon. There's going to be almost 2,000 jobs, 1,500 that are going to be full-time jobs. So I'm sure those C4 workers, if you do not approve any expansion of the current grow process or the cultivation process, they will find other jobs. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
The next speaker is Georgine Fairbanks.
Good evening. God, I can do a board meeting, but I hate public speaking. A year and a half ago, we started this whole thing, guys, a year and a half ago. Monday morning, I had my cup of coffee, went out to sit outside in my backyard as I should be able to do, and went, oh my God, the air stunk again. A year and a half later. I'm the president of the Mira Vista HOA, 307 homes. If the homeowners came to me a year and a half later with the same problem that I had the ability to fix, I would be questioning my leadership abilities and my problem-solving abilities. This has gone on way too long. I don't know whether you find them. I don't know whether it's a slap on the hands. I don't know what it is, but I'm just curious. Anybody in here own a business or have owned a business before?
So please address the council.
Sorry.
This is council comment.
Okay. My husband ran plastic plants all over the state of California. If he emitted those odors at any time, the cities he's in would have shut that plant down in a heartbeat. I ran a multi-million dollar company. I cannot imagine thumbing my nose at the landlord or the city with the rules and regulations and telling them I don't have to follow them. This company just thumbs their nose at you. They have an utter, blatant disregard for the rules and complete disdain for no respect for your ability to enforce them. You have a high school in the back of that facility. Now, a lot of us are getting up there in age. Maybe our lungs won't be affected by this, but we still don't know what we're breathing in. I've altered, I don't walk in the morning anymore because I don't want to walk out and smell that. If it isn't skunk, it's some chemical odor that I'm smelling. And I love it because this little place releases it in the morning and at night, in the middle of the night when they know there's no code enforcement out there. So nobody can call anybody and say, hey, walk outside and smell it. They know what they're doing. Anyway, these kids that are there, these kids are breathing this in. And I hope that their lungs aren't affected by this because 10 years from now, if you start seeing it, those lawsuits are going to bankrupt your city. So something needs to be done about them. They need to be shut down. There's a Morgan Wallen song that said, if I'm the problem, you may be the reason. C4 is the problem, and you're the reason. You need to shut them down if they cannot comply with the simple regulations that this city has set up. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
The next speaker is Bob Summers.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor and the City Council. Everybody that I know of really appreciates what you are doing on a daily basis and how this city is improving by the minute. compared to 26 years, 27 years ago when I moved here. I don't want to be a complainer. What I really want to do is see if we couldn't do something ordinance-wise to clean up a little bit of the shopping center on the corner of Date Palm and Ramon. I don't know what the ordinances are with the city involved in it because most all of it's privately owned. But it seems like each year it's just getting worse and worse. And if we could just talk to the people that are owners and operators of it, it would be nice to see our city looking a little bit better. It seems like it's one of the darker places in the whole city of Cathedral City, business-wise. And I live right a catty corner across the street over there, right next to the biggest pot house in town. So I'm going to leave that alone, but I would like to see that shopping center cleaned up a little bit. And thank you for allowing me to talk with you this evening.
Thank you for your comments.
The next speaker is Christine Anderson.
Hi, Christine Anderson. We've seen each other a couple times. Thank you for letting me speak again. My grandkids go to Boys and Girls Club, but in Palm Springs for one reason. It stinks right beside our Boys and Girls Club here pretty well, almost every day. It's our hometown. If we don't take care of it, who will? My God, that's inspiring. Behind you, commitment, pride, excellence. I almost get goosebumps when these words come out of my mouth, but I don't feel it here. I don't feel that. You guys have not committed to fixing this problem. What pride is there when you walk out these very doors here and our breath is taken away? It stinks. Your nickname is Stink City. It's terrifying. Excellence, when I have my kids do excellent things, I push them to do the best job they can. I'm not convinced you're doing the best job you guys can right now. C4 did phone me too, called me a liar. Where'd they get my information from? I don't know. The forms I fill out say Cathedral City, right on top of them. Are they getting our information from you? I'm kind of concerned about that. Okay, so by the way, I'm not going to be bullied by them, and I'm not going to be bullied by you. And that's what that phone call was. You didn't smell it. Don't call me a liar. I'm not a liar. I rarely shop at Staters anymore. I only run in there if I need one or two things. I know their business is down. Starbucks, God, who wants to keep their window open even for a moment there? Oh, I'm so sorry for Cathedral City. You guys are going downhill. I would happily drive anywhere over the wash, support Palm Springs before I'll support you, which is sad because I came here to retire and enjoy my retirement, and you're not allowing it. The office sent me a letter telling me there would be no smell when this first started. There's smell. Stand behind what you send out to your citizens. I have a hemp allergy. I have trouble breathing here. Please, do something right. Get rid of the odor. 0 is 0. I have grandchildren in the outdoor resorts. They're affected. They're breathing this. Is there not an ordinance about how close that place can be built to where children are? They're right next door. They breathe it in. I won't even take them on the golf cart half the time down at Ramona anymore when we used to have fun going for an ice cream. We don't support it anymore. I just want you to take a moment and relive what that wonderful woman just said. It's our hometown. If we don't take care of it, who will? Please step up and do the right thing and shut them down.
Thank you for your comments.
The next speaker is Lynn B. And Miss, when you get up to the lectern, can you state your full name for the record?
Lynn Barry, Outdoor Resort Palm Springs. And I just wanted to address 2 points. One is to validate the concerns about the odor. A few months ago, I did get a sense that things were improving, and the compliance truck was there. It was coming through regularly. The smells weren't so bad. But the last couple of weeks have just been horrific. And again, just asking for some compliance and enforcement on that issue. The second I wanted to address is the impact financially on the resort and people who have lots there. So we had 2 lots. We just sold one about maybe 6 weeks ago. 18 months ago, I had an evaluation done that was about $90,000. I ended up selling it for $50,000. And who I ended up selling it to was somebody in, I'm drawing blank, basically La Quinta, and they're just using it as a storage area in Orbs because the amount that they would spend on storage for an RV is almost what they could buy it for from me. So we're really taking a hit financially as well. And for me, I've lost, basically half of what I could have got. And people are directly attributing that to the odor on. So just again, requesting an understanding and any enforcement that can be done. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Nancy Bozian.
Welcome.
Good evening. I'm Nancy Bezoyan. I'm in Mira Vista, but right on the other side of Duval, so I'm a stone's throw from Cathedral City. I thank you for the work that you've done from a year ago. This packet that I saw today online for the first time is amazing and gives a lot of information that engineers had done for you, some research on the whole cannabis odor issue. I am all for businesses succeeding and providing jobs to the community, but they need to follow the rules of the city. And please do so without affecting the air that we breathe. The city code requires cannabis businesses to prevent odors from being detectable on the outside. It's still happening a year and a half later. It's better, but it's still happening. Most of what we get is from C4. I'm asking you, please, 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 to enforce the rules that you have in place. Do not let, and I'm not sure where the permitting is for the expansion phase 2 of C4, but please don't let them build out phase 2 until there's zero emission from phase 1. They currently have 200,000 square feet and they're permitted for another 150. I just can't imagine by almost doubling that space what's going to happen if we can't get this under control. I'm curious also if there's been any checks by reliable independent sources on how safe the odor is or the masking agent and odor neutralizers are. What is the chemical composition in these odors and masking agents? Are people that are having reactions to this, are they the canaries in the coal mine for what they're experiencing? Finally, I'm just going to reiterate the same point that another woman made as far as the complaint form. On here it says, if you would like to receive a copy of the trajectory report, please indicate your request on the form. We will send the report to you in the following days. There's no place on the form to request that. And then it says you will receive a confirmation email immediately following your report submission. There's no confirmation after you fill out this form. So any data that you're getting from us filling out complaint forms has got to be worthless because most of us have just given up because it doesn't work like the way it says it's supposed to work. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
The next speaker is Jolie Welch.
Mayor and Council, I really don't have anything new to add. I'm also remarking on the issue with the odor from C4. I also live in Orps, which is directly adjacent. I sometimes muse what it'd be like if we were next to, if C4 was a feedlot and the kind of odors that come from a feedlot. Everybody knows that that stinks, and feedlots are not allowed next to residential uses. Neither should C4. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
The next speaker is Alicia Mihan.
Alicia, are you here?
Yes, she's.
Good evening. I'll be brief. I would like to reiterate the fact that it's very simple. All of you are people that could, you're living and working in this community, and you could easily solve this problem. You have an ordinance that says that you cannot have an odor beyond the property line. It's very simple. Have code enforcement go to each of these properties. We've done it on Perez and C4 and just stand there beyond the property line and cite them. Palm Springs gives $25,000 every time there's an odor beyond the property line. I'm a former prosecutor. That is how you get the job done. You enforce. So I have been following up with Justin Gardner, who is your code enforcement manager, asking for transparency. I'm asking to find out, what is he doing? What is the team doing? Nothing. He writes back saying, go to the Information Act and request it. You know, I think we as members of the community should be getting on your website on a weekly basis updates on what he's done, who he has cited, and what is happening. I think you should also increase the fines. That will get action done. The other thing that I feel and demand, having read what's going on in Santa Barbara, Carpinteria, many, many cities, the cities have required that there be closed-loop filtration systems and activated carbon filtration before any of these different growers and manufacturers operate. You kind of did it in a backwards way, but you can solve this. You can just change it, create a new ordinance right away, meet, and do something, because people have been I've been speaking to people from our gardeners whose children can't go in their backyards, to other people who live near Perez who are suffering. They can't breathe. There's so many people who are across the street from us. We live in the Montage, and it's just horrible. So many of us, we can't use our backyard. I feel sick and nauseated with headaches all the time. And I've spoken to the people across the street that are in Rancho Mirage. You are affecting more than just Cathedral City, but the whole community. I don't know how you could sleep at night. If it were me, I'd be doing something. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
And Mayor, that concludes all the speaker slips that I have.
All right. Is there anyone else that wanted to speak that did not turn in a slip?
Sir, I have one for item 4A. No, it's for... 1 second.
So I do see Patrick Meehan on the list. Are you Patrick Meehan? Would you please step forward and make your comments?
Apologies, I had it in the wrong pile.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for letting me speak to you tonight. You're welcome. My name is Patrick Meehan. I'm a physician, and I'm a homeowner here in Cathedral City. My wife and I moved here a few months ago. Unfortunately, our broker and the seller's broker did not disclose to us that there were over 30 cannabis facilities within about 2 miles of our home. And as a result, shortly after we moved in, we started smelling the smell from the cannabis manufacturers and growers. At first, I was a little skeptical. My wife was very upset about it. But the more we started talking to people, the more it became clear. You've heard all these people here tonight. Previous people have spoken about how it's affecting their health. I wrote down a bunch of quotes from other people we've spoken to. I won't read them all, but just to give you a couple examples, the smell impacts my health, my asthma. I have complained to deaf ears. Another one says, me and my husband live in the area and smell the stinking weed every day. We can't even have our windows open because it gets into our bedroom where we sleep. It's amazing how many people are affected by this in the city. I've been shocked to learn that pretty much everybody we speak to that lives in the area can smell this and is affected by it. You've heard, 15 people here tonight speak to the issue. You have an ordinance that says, you passed it, that says that any odor beyond the property line would immediately result in the facility having to produce an odor control plan. It's obviously not being enforced. When I got out of my car downstairs, I could smell it right here at City Hall. 2 weeks ago, when I got out of my car downstairs, I smelled it. So clearly the ordinance is not being enforced. There's no reason that the city could not go to each of these facilities where they're violating the ordinance do a cease and desist order until they can prove that they can control the odor. The last thing I'd like to say is it would be unconscionable for the city to allow C4 to expand under the current circumstances. You've heard all these people. They're not making this up, and they're taxpayers and they're people who live in your city, and you should pay attention to them. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else that we missed? All right, seeing none, we're going to move on to the next item, which is council reports, and we'll start with council member, what is your name? Oh, Christina Gordon. So sorry.
Patsy was my first friend in Cathedral City. I can't believe she forgot my name.
That's all right.
Okay, so let's see. Since our last meeting,
No, she can go ahead.
Since our last meeting, I've met with the city manager and assistant city manager several times, particularly to discuss cannabis. I attended the Mary Nutter with the full council and witnessed Mayor Gregory throw out the first pitch, which was very exciting. If you did not make it to the Mary Nutter, you missed something really special in our city. It was a fun night and incredible athleticism. The homeless council or homeless committee for the Coachella Valley Association of Governments was canceled last week, so I did not go to it. I went to last weekend the health and wellness fair that was at Esperanza Park, which was also phenomenal. I was so impressed by all of the services that were provided. There was a mobile mammogram van, so people could get mammograms when they came up to the health and wellness fair. They also had vision screenings on site, and people could get their glasses the same day. So what a phenomenal service to our community that was. There were tons of vendors, and I want to thank everybody who participated in that for such a great service to our community. Yesterday, with Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez and Councilmember Lamb and the new city manager, I attended the Taste and Sounds with the Dreamboats. I think we had over 2,000 people is what I heard. It was also phenomenal. Seeing our amphitheater come to life in that way is always really exciting, and to have our community come and enjoy Cathedral City. People were thanking us as they came in for having the concert, saying how much they enjoyed being in our amphitheater. People were saying that they came from other desert cities to experience that. So just a really cool thing that we have. So kudos to everybody who participated in putting that together. And finally, just an hour ago, I went over to the Roost for the Boys and Girls Club meatball throwdown between the fire department and the police department. I don't know who won, so I'm on the edge of my seat on that one. But always great to see that healthy rivalry between our public servants in advance of the Boys and Girls Club Meatball Festival, which will be at the end of March.
Thank you so much. All right, next is Councilmember Ross.
Thank you. So these last 2 weeks have been slower than most for me, as my husband and I both got that crud that's going around, and about half of City Hall had it too. We were down for over more than a week, but I am back in the saddle again. I was, however, able to represent you at CVAGS, which is Coachella Valley Association of Governments Energy and Environmental Commission. I attended the Date Festival in Indio because I'm not going to miss out on a date shake. Attended the Riverside County Fair. Oh, that's what I just told you. I met with 2 separate commissioners here in our own City Hall to answer questions and to ask them questions about things that are going on. I attended the Desert Health listening session offered by Desert Healthcare District at our library. I also attended the Mary Nutter, so I'm not going to bemoan that. It was wonderful. I attended Do the Right Thing, which I try not to miss, where kids are honored for their admirable behavior and ability to help others. We had an honoree from our city that time as well. I participated in the Wilderness Society Government Council, where I am a member, and I also represented us on the Southern California Edison's Advisory Committee, where I'm also on their commission. I attended the monthly Elected Women's Leadership Council, and of course, this time also covered Valentine's Day, so I stepped it up and cooked me some steak and lobster for that husband of mine. think I have extra points for a whole month now. I had dinner with a representative of WellBe Health where we talked socially and hopefully someday soon can look forward to maybe a Cathedral City hub. I spoke with a developer in our city. He wanted me to come look at his latest addition, which I did. Of course, during this time, I met with our city manager and assistant manager, city manager covering a large array of issues. And there is no rest for the wicked, so tomorrow I have a meeting to attend to put a dinner together and putting the next week together. But before I end, this is my last piece, I want to share with you something very cool we're doing. I am your board chair for Riverside County Animal Services. And on December 31st, we took 31 animals, large dogs, because large dogs are always difficult to adopt out. And we took those large dogs to Ironwood Penitentiary in Blythe. And we set up a dog with an inmate, and the inmate has a list of things they need to train that dog to be before it can be adopted out. And in less than 1 month, 8 of those dogs had already met all the requirements and almost instantly got adopted. And the people just light up who are part of the program. The dogs are amazing on how they want to be trained. They want that discipline. And I hope it's a program that can go on forever because it's a win-win for everybody involved. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing. Next up is Councilmember Lamb.
Great, thank you. And I too attended the Mary Nutter, and I just wanted to, I happened to be there for all 4 days at different times during the day, but I certainly want to have a shout out to Eric Bessaril and Victor Gomez and Antonio Beishu, because they were phenomenal ambassadors for Cathedral City. They had set up a kiosk, and as people walked by, thanks to our Public Works Department, they had little to-go bags with all the teams and sponsors of the Mary Nutter Collegiate Classic on the front of the bag. And Victor and Eric had prepared a map showing where all the restaurants were around the town, so people got to look at the different menus. And Antonio was fabulous in saying, you know, like DJ's is right across the street. You don't have to leave your parking spot and you can just enjoy. So it was a wonderful community that he built up. And on the very final day there on Sunday, I saw people walking around with our Cathedral City bags. So, you know, it's one event that we have in Cathedral City where people fly in from all across the nation, because it's the 24 top girls collegiate softball teams in the country, and number 1 was Tennessee, and we had friends staying with us. They brought in a whole contingency of Oklahoma, you know, Go Big Red, so the Hoosiers, so they were there. So it's really a phenomenal event, and thank you so much for all your outreach, because it's really appreciated. I also wanted to, I attended the Desert Healthcare District at Esperanza Park. And, you know, as Council Member Gordon was just saying, it's phenomenal because it was a stop and shop and go. And they also had, in addition to the mammogram screening, you know, on site, you could get glasses. So they did the eye exam, they prepared the glasses, and you got fitted for the frames, and before you left, you got a pair of glasses to go. Yvette Perez-Gill is the representative from Desert Healthcare District, and Mario Jimenez is our Parks and Community Events. And it turns out, after chatting with them and hearing more about the foundation and how it works, they're father and daughter. So, you know, they really helped to collaborate and bring this resource to Cathedral City. And part of their wonderfulness of doing all this is that now they have a client list, so when they come back mid-year, they can follow up with all the people that they met. So it was just really, really wonderful. And I had, you know, it's great to celebrate Esperanza Park in every possible way. Then I had a meeting with Jay Seller, who is the development director at CV Rep, about potential parking situations. I talked to Armando and John Corella, and we'll be following up with that. I also attended the Coachella Valley Media Hall of Fame Awards luncheon that was yesterday, and they were celebrating all the fantastic reporting that's done to tell the true story of what's happening in Cathedral City and out and about. And for Hall of Fame inductees, it was Larry Bohannon. I don't know if you read the Desert Sun, but Larry Bohannon is the sports writer and follows golf, and he has been doing it for 45 years. So it was a great honor. And Jimmy Bogle, who has Coachella Valley Independent newspaper. So it was a great afternoon. And the host of the whole thing and the MC was Patrick Evans, our own Cathedral City resident, and wonderful weather person and great speaker. And he ran the show. So we're really happy to have all this talent right here in Cathedral City. I attended yoga in the park in our amphitheater. And again, Antonio and Gary Marshall, who is no longer on the PACE Commission, but is still an advocate. He and Antonio are out there every morning, saying namaste and come to Taste and Sounds. So it really worked because we had bumper-to-bumper people last night. It was wonderful. And the last thing I will say, we end our meeting with, does any of the council have items to be placed on the agenda? And I will raise my hand and say, but the Coachella Valley Disaster Preparedness Network, they're often able to assist our fire department when we do emergency preparedness events, and they would like to come to Cathedral City to do a study session and talk about, in addition to our own fire department, other resources that they may have that would be interesting for the people. So, thank you.
Right, thank you. Next up is Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Nice to be back once again. And since we last had a meeting, we celebrated Valentine's Day. I hope everyone here got flowers for their significant others and a nice little gift. And also, since we last met, I attended a Coachella Valley Association of Governments in which the commission approved the purchase of 2 parcels in Thousand Palms, in which that increased the number of vacant or land that the Conservancy has purchased to over 20,000 acres in the Coachella Valley. The commission also discussed the development of a ranger program. The Conservancy is facing tons of issues with the lands that it owns, because homeless people actually go out there and they build camps, not just 1 or 2 people. They actually built a little camp there. And when they're actually told that they need to leave, they leave a complete mess that in one case it cost over $300,000 to clean up. Now, they clean this camp up and another one pops up half a mile or a mile away, and they have to clean that up as well. Well, if the camps do not get cleaned up, what happens is a lot of this land gets contaminated with trash, debris, and many of our desert animals and plants actually will be affected by it. So the ranger program will be is in the process of being developed, so we can actually patrol and actually take care of this land a little bit better than it actually is right now. And of course, with my fellow council members, I also attended the Mary Notter softball tournament. As it was mentioned, it was incredible. And I had a meeting with our city manager, our new city manager, and our assistant city manager as well, to discuss tonight's agenda and other issues as well. And yesterday, our city manager and myself, I took him around for a drive for an hour and a half, and we drove around pretty much every single street in my district, and I got to point out a lot of our residents' concerns. Cathedral City recently did a survey as to what residents concern about and also what they care about. And one of the issues was definitely that we need to enforce our ordinances a little bit better, and also that we need to beautify our city. And I pointed out several issues that need to be addressed, and he was taking notes, and we're trying to see how we can improve in beautifying our city. And I also attended Monday, I attended a development code update meeting, in which the committee has met, I believe it's 6 or 7 times. We're going to be meeting one more time before the report gets finalized and gets submitted to various agencies, including our planning department, the tribe, and other governmental agencies for their approval. Once that's completed, it will come back to City Council for its final approval if there's no changes or amendments or adjustments. And let's see, what else did I do here? Of course, I attended the Taste and Sounds of Cathedral City, like it was mentioned. It is incredible. If you have never attended it, it is absolutely a free concert. It goes on for about 8 weeks, starts at 5 o'clock, and the music varies. There's different bands that play, and the music is from, they play from the 50s to actually, we have Radio Ready, which plays a lot of new songs, and they're all incredible. It takes place in our amphitheater. You should definitely write it in your calendar and attend it if you can. It is absolutely something that you must do. And I've been talking to a local developer as well to give us ideas, and we're going to be having a meeting coming up soon, the next couple of days. He's going to be providing ideas as to how we can maximize our dollars when it comes to building or having a new recreation center for our city, our residents. And that will take place, and we can possibly report later on to see what the outcome is, but that's going to be an ongoing project. And that concludes my report, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Sounds like everyone has been quite busy since our last meeting just 2 weeks ago. After our last meeting, the Thursday following, I had a number of events. You guys remember our old radio system called Erica? Mm-hmm. So that, as you know, we left that system a number of years ago. It was a joint powers authority, and all of the agencies there decided to go on to the county system, and we went on early. Some of them, it took them a few years to get onto the county system for a number of reasons, but they had a final, what they called a dissolution meeting on that Thursday. So that board met, and I represented Cathedral City, even though, technically we haven't been part of the operating part of the Joint Powers Authority. So just to approve the final ending of that, kind of the wind down and the approval of the final bills. Looks like there might be a little bit money left over, which will be split back to the city. So Erica we haven't been part of it for a number of years, but that is finally going away. And then later that day, we have our State of the City that's coming up in a couple of months. So I know I attended an initial planning meeting virtually on that. So that is promising to be very exciting. We have a new organizer this year for that event, and they've got some great ideas, so more on that to come. And then later that evening, I attended what's called the Rammies, and the Rammies are the Rancho Mirage Business Awards. It's put on by the Rancho Mirage Chamber of Commerce, so that was at the Westin. And then, as already been mentioned, a week after that, on Thursday night was the official opening of the Mary Nutter tournament. It's already been talked about, but it really is a big tournament. It's the college women's softball college championship for NCAA teams. Massive. If you've never been there, it is massive, well attended, and this has already been shared. People from all over. I had the honor of throwing out the first pitch on behalf of Cathedral City. That's a mayor duty. I know many of my fellow ex-mayors, former mayors have done that also. This is my first time, because when I was mayor before, it was 2021, and there was this thing called COVID still going on, so there wasn't a tournament that year. So although this is my second time as mayor, it was my first time to be able to do it. I have to thank our city clerk, Christina Gordon. She has many hidden talents, but one of them is she is a former girls softball champion, I would say, expert, and so she gave me a few tips so that I could actually get the pitch over the plate. The pitch was over the plate. The velocity was good. The aim was pretty good. I surprised a few girls off to the side from the catcher because the ball went more to them than the actual catcher, but it worked. It worked. So thank you, and thank you again for the council and city management and other staff for being there and supporting that event and showing how important the Mary Nutter is. And of course, thank you to our public Parks and Community Events Commissioner, Antonio Beishu, for all the work he did the whole time the Mary Nutter was going on. He is like a one-man promoter of all things Cathedral City, so can't thank you enough. All right, and then the next day, I was asked to do a little introduction at the Senior Center's Emergency Preparedness seminar they put on. It was also had the Coachella Valley Disaster Preparation Network was one that actually did the seminar. It was organized by Assembly Member Greg Wallace, and he was also there with staff. So it was my honor to be able to do an introduction. Those kind of events are very important to make sure that our residents are prepared and ready when the inevitable disasters come. And then, let's see, last Monday, I represented the city at the Riverside County Transportation Commission's budget implementation meeting. That was, again, it seems like we're always working on a budget, but it's had a lot of that meeting was preparing for the next year's budget. They are also have clicked the switch on the Smart Freeways project that's going on in Temecula. And where that's important for us is that, I think I talked about that before, where it would regulate when people got onto the freeway off of ramps, is that'll probably eventually come to Interstate 10 as the congestion continues to grow there. And then yesterday, I would have liked to go on to see the Dreamboats at Taste and Sounds, but I was already obligated, so I attended the exhibit opening at Sunnylands representing the city. I ended up being the only elected official there from anywhere, so they were very happy and they were very gracious that I was very well attended. Their exhibit this year is called Curating Canopy, the Trees at Sunnylands, and so in it talks about all of the different trees that have been not just happened there by accident, but in place there over the years. So it was very interesting. I was honored to attend. Just a few things coming up. The next couple weeks are really, really busy and some very important events, fun events here. So tomorrow, Coachella Valley Firebirds are having a game, and it's Cathedral City Night. So if you are interested, there is some type of giveaway, I think, for the first 100 or a couple hundred attendees. I don't know what that is, but they'll be theming it all Cathedral City. There's a discount available if you go on the city's Facebook page. I know it's on there. You can click through the code and get discount tickets and attend the game tomorrow. There's other Cathedral City related little mini events going on. So I think I'm going to be riding the Zamboni and some other people from staff and around the city have been selected for that. So at different times. So if you have nothing else to do tonight, tomorrow night, Firebirds games are always a lot of fun. And you may want to check that out. This coming Saturday, we will be repainting the Rainbow Crossing, which is the crosswalk that's out in front of the city by the bell tower. Annually, the community gets together right before our LGBT days, and we repaint that crosswalk. That was something that was started years ago, and I think it was probably the Arts Commission that was behind that, the Public Arts Commission years ago. I know we have our former council member, Shelley Kaplan, in the room here. He was instrumental in getting that going, and he and his family have for many years been the bedrock of that activity. And again, like most things, it's gotten to the point where now people look forward to it, they get involved, and it's more of a regular part of our city calendar. So that will be this Saturday starting at 9 o'clock. And then the week following, on Taste and Sounds on Tuesday will be kind of the pre-LGBT days. So that'll be the Cat City Drag Race on that Taste and Sounds. I will be out of town for a few days. I think we've shared that besides being the city's representative on the Riverside County Transportation Commission, I'm also the chair this year. So I've been tasked to take a little trip to Washington, D.C. to try to advocate for more funds for projects here in the transportation projects here in the Coachella Valley and all throughout the county. So I'll be doing that for a few days. But I will be back for the opening of LGBT Days. Our formal opening will be on Friday, where we'll be raising the rainbow flag, and that'll be at 5 p.m. And there's a number of other events on Friday. Saturday is the festival. Again, not this Saturday, the one after. So we're talking about March 7th is the festival from 12 to 9. The headliner will be David Archuleta, a famous performer from American Idol and other television shows and concerts. And that'll be on Saturday. And then that Sunday, March 8th, is our famous bed race. If you've never been to it, you're missing out. It's incredible. It is hilarious. It is a little competition between our fire department and our police department. They take it very seriously on the race part. Other ones take it seriously on some of the others take it very seriously on the decorating part. Although there are some other racers too that have gotten very close to beating our public safety. So again, that will be on March 8th. So that will be before we meet again. So if you haven't been to any of those LGBT Days events, they are a lot of fun. And of course, they're for all the community to celebrate diversity and the great, which is one of the great things that makes Cathedral City special. So I will leave it at that and hope to see you at many of those events. Thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda is our consent agenda. I know one item has been pulled, but I'll ask the clerk to read the consent agenda and make note of what is on it.
Item 3A is to waive full reading of ordinances on the agenda. Item 3B is to receive and file the Commissioner Committee member attendance record. Item 3C is to approve the minutes of February 11th, 2026. Item 3D is to receive and file the check demand for January 26th. Item 3E has been pulled. Item 3F is to reject bids for the construction of the Cypress Road and Santoro Drive Retention Basin Project C02609. And that concludes the consent agenda.
All right, council, do you have any questions or comments on the consent agenda before public comment? All right.
None.
Well, which screen are we looking at? I'm going to pause. So this is the screen. Yeah. Okay. And then that one is, you'll have to play with that one. All right. Computers, they're wonderful when they work. All right, are there any public comments on the consent agenda?
I did not receive any requests.
Is there anyone in the public that wants to speak on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll return it back to council for further comments or action.
Move to approve.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez and a second by Councilmember Lamb. Please vote. Do you see the vote option, Mayor Pro Tem and Councilmember Lamb?
It's behind there.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez, would you like to verbalize your vote?
No.
Yes,
Oh,
I don't
all
see
you need
it.
to do is just scoot this over.
Is,
Little arrow, scoot it over. Oh, yours isn't. Mine's right there.
Oh, okay.
so your vote is, sir?
Yes.
Okay, and I have Councilmember Lamb,
Thank you.
and motion carries, all ayes.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your patience while we sort out some of these computer issues. All right. We are ready to move on our agenda. Next on our agenda are our public hearings. First public hearing is item 4A. This is a public hearing. CC Industry LLC, doing business as C4 USA Cannabis Dispensary, is a license appeal regarding the denial of a cannabis dispensary license under Cathedral City Municipal Code, Chapter 5.88. And I will turn it over to the city manager to introduce the item.
Thank you, Mayor. So I do want to offer a couple of prefatory remarks as we get into this item, and I do believe the City Attorney Vale, has some additional comments as well. So as a matter of clarification, this item is strictly to conduct a public hearing of an administrative decision to deny the dispensary license renewal for C4 Industry. That is the sole subject of this hearing tonight. Second, the item tonight has a lot of complexities. There's a lot of information that will be shared by city staff and by the appellant. The core of this item, though, is an interpretation of ordinance number 870. This is an ordinance that was adopted by City Council in 2023 that went into effect January 1st, 2024. So we will share that as part of the presentation tonight and as well as part of the comments. And the third part, the applicant, as part of their request and as part of the staff report, had requested a postponement or a continuance of this item. They are here tonight. The appellant is here tonight, and they are no longer requesting a postponement or a continuance. So that part of the staff report can be disregarded. And with that, I would ask City Attorney Vail to provide some comments on the structure of the meeting tonight.
Thank you so much. City Attorney.
Thank you, City Manager. Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, members of the public. Bear with me for a little bit, because even though this is a public hearing, we don't do this type of public hearing very often. So I have to set some ground rules for everybody. If you have any questions as I go through what the ground rules are, please ask me. Happy to address those. This is a unique type of public hearing because it's an administrative decision that we have to decide on, which means the fancy name for it's a quasi-adjudicatory proceeding. That's fancy lingo for it's kind of like a trial. You all are going to be the judges that will make the determination at the end. The city manager and his staff and our special counsel, Peter Nolan, will provide the argument and the evidence on the city's side. The members of C4 will present their argument and evidence on their side, and at the end, you'll make a decision. This isn't going to be a formal trial. There won't be examination of witnesses. There won't be cross-examination of witnesses. People can come up and speak for C4. People will come up and speak on behalf of the city. You will be looking for facts and evidence, not opinion, not hearsay, things that you can rely on in order to make your decision. Those could be interpretations of the ordinance. Those could be photographs. Those could be witness statements. It's your decision to decide whether those are relevant tonight. And relevancy is really, does it bear directly to the decision we're making? The city manager mentioned earlier that this is only about a cannabis dispensary license. So for members of the public who might be familiar with C4 or the odor issues, this is not about odor. Odor is not relevant in this case. Some other things aren't relevant. We've received a letter that attaches 52 handwritten or typed letters, which I believe to be from employees of C4, indicating their happiness working there, the good conditions, the fact that they like the job, the impact that it has beneficial on the community. We will receive those into evidence, but you don't need to repeat those statements because we have them here, and it's not directly germane to the issuance of the license. Right? I will say at this point that we have a letter from Melanie Porras, P-O-R-R-A-S. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. The title of that is Notice of Administrative Inconsistency and Request for Immediate License Reinstatement, addressed to the city manager and the honorable council members. That letter consists of 3 pages and it has 2 exhibits, and attached to that are the 52 letters. I'm going to hand that to the city clerk. That'll be part of the administrative record on this matter. How do we proceed in this case? Well, the first thing, if there's any council member who happens to have a conflict of interest under the FPPC or anything, you could recuse yourself at this time. I don't believe that anyone does. Having said that, the first part of this will be the city's presentation. It will be the city manager and his staff, and if necessary, special counsel. Why do we have special counsel? In California, the law doesn't allow the city attorney to appear before you and both represent you as the city council and be an advocate on behalf of staff's position. So we have a special attorney, not from my firm, from another fine firm, who can advocate. Staff can advocate for the city as well. Peter, raise your hand so they know. Okay, there he is, right there. If you have any substantive legal questions as we go through this about the evidence or about the facts, Peter can address those if members of staff cannot. I'm here to guide you through the process and answer procedural questions or other questions that aren't related to the facts of the case. First step, city will make presentation. City gets sufficient time to put all of its evidence out. There's no precise time limit. but I'm sure they'll be very efficient. Same thing with the appellant. The appellant in this case is C4. They get adequate time to present their facts, their argument, and their case. We would ask them to be efficient. There's no specific time. However, there's no need for redundancy or repeating evidence or statements. And the mayor can, if you find that either side is just repeating things or we have witnesses that are repeating things, they can be ruled out of order and we won't take any more testimony from them. After the appellant's presentation, the city gets a short opportunity to do what's called a rebuttal. The rebuttal is just to reply to anything that we feel necessary from the appellant's case. During either the staff's presentation or the appellant's presentation, any members of the council can stop and ask a question. You don't have to ask it at that time, but if something occurs, something's unclear, please ask. After the end of both presentations and the rebuttal, then there'll be public comment. Members of the public, you're welcome to make a comment, but please make it relevant just to the license. It won't be relevant for you to come up again and repeat the 52 letters that say this is a great place to work. We got it, we understand that's part of the record already, so you don't have to repeat that. If you have a comment related to why the license should be issued or not, you may speak on that. After that's done, council, it will come back to you. No more evidence will be issued at that time, but now you can ask additional questions and clarifications. Once all of your questions have been answered, then you will deliberate. You can discuss amongst yourself. You can decide what action you want to take. And I know staff will go through in their presentation the options and actions that we think you can make. I'm sure the appellant will go through and recommend actions to you as well. And after the end of that, there'll be a motion for a particular decision, and we'll move forward with that. Once you make a decision, that will be the final decision in this case. There's no additional level of appeal through the city. If you have any questions about that, I'm happy to address those. I'll be here through the duration of the presentation in case things come up.
All right, council, any questions at this time?
I do.
Go ahead.
We have to take notes and take them into deliberation with us.
You won't be going back into closed session to deliberate. Your deliberation will be here in public. You can
Okay.
take any notes during the process that you want to.
Thanks.
All right, anything else? All right. I am going to remind the public that this is an official proceeding. You will be hearing from a number of parties. You are not to make any verbal outbursts. If you do, you will be asked to leave. Just real quickly. All right, at this time, I will open the public hearing and turn it over to the city manager to begin presenting.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'll invite Kevin Biersack up to lead the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, City staff, interested constituents, and those out there listening online. As the City Manager said, my name is Kevin Biersack. I am your Financial Services Director. Tonight, what you have before you is staff's presentation for the dispensary rejection of the license, for lack of a better term. As the City Attorney said, please feel free to ask any questions or save them till the end. So a little background, we've talked about this ordinance. That ordinance number is 870. It was approved by our City Council in June of 2023. It became effective January 1st of 2024. That ordinance amended the Municipal Code, Chapter 5, Section 88.055B4. A here is quoted. There's a 4A, a 4B, and a 4C. There's other things too, but what's primarily germane is 4A, stating, for the first renewal application beyond January 2024, proof that commercial cannabis activity permitted by the license has been occurring on the premises for the previous month. A tax return submitted pursuant to section, which is another chapter, 3.48.080 of this code showing that taxable commercial cannabis activity occurred on the premises shall be sufficient proof. So the reason I have highlighted, and I'd like to take a moment to tie back to what is the definition of a month. So there can be a couple of definitions of a month. One definition can be the calendar month. A bean counter like myself can say that the definition of a month is if you have a renewal date on the 10th or the 15th or the 20th of a given month, that the month is the 30 days that precedes that. So I just wanted to share that with you because I will come back to that probably in about 8 or 10 slides. But I did want to share with you why month was highlighted, because there is an interpretation. I guess I shouldn't touch that puppy.
Kevin, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Is this a first renewal or a second renewal?
Keep in mind, as the city attorney said, they've been renewing their license, and they had 3 licenses all along. So they have a cultivation license, a distribution license, and C4 has a dispensary or retail license. So what you will find out is that has been renewed as time has gone on as a non-operating dispensary license. But as a result of what happened with that Ordinance 870, sir, and the effective date of that, this in essence, in reality, becomes the second renewal. And if you can hold on to that thought, I will explain that in a few slides.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? So, staff informed CC Industry LLC doing business as C4 USA, and throughout the rest of the presentation, I just refer to the entity as CC Industry LLC. But staff informed the entity, the business, of the requirement to be operational with their dispensary as a condition of renewal. Keep in mind, we notified anyone of this condition because of the new ordinance. For the renewal date of September 10th, and that's a key date, for the renewal date of September 10th, 2024, staff emailed communications and reminders were sent to the business November 3rd, 2023, because we did that for anyone prior to it going into effect. And then also again, a few months later in April of 2024. 2 notices sent. So to give a little background, on August 13th, staff informed CC Industry they would not be able to renew the dispensary portion of their license due to no commercial cannabis activity. Almost a week later, CC Industry on August the 19th submitted a letter of hardship, which is allowable in the municipal code, asking for special circumstances to renew their dispensary license for the period that was coming up, September 10th of 24 through September 9th of 25. So after internal discussion, and then on August 27th, 2024, city management had a telephone discussion with Mr. Bernard, and CC Industry was granted that hardship, and the license was renewed. So back to your question, Mayor Pro Tem, that would be the first renewal after the ordinance came into being. So then, as a follow-on, staff informed CC Industry of the requirement to be operational with their dispensary as a condition of renewal on September 10th, 2025. Email communications and notices, to include an attachment of the ordinance, 870, were sent to CC Industry in January of 25 and in May of 25. As a result of the May 15th correspondence and sending that reminder in discussing Ordinance 870, Mr. Bernard, the Chief Operating Officer, responded stating that they intended to be operational by August 1st in advance of their September 10th renewal date of their cannabis license. On July 2nd, 3 months later, staff received an email from Mr. Bernard stating that they were ready to apply for a city business license. Keep in mind, we have a cannabis license, but we also have a business license. Staff responded with the instructions on how to apply for that business license. CC Industry applied, and we received that application on July 14th, just a couple weeks later, 12 days to be exact. Subsequently then, on July 18th, staff emailed Mr. Bernard with instructions for scheduling their required inspections. So when it comes to business license inspections, just as a matter of fact, typically, and this ties back to in-town businesses, of course, it's not out-of-town businesses, but for our in-town businesses, there are at least 2 inspections. And those inspections that are on-site inspections are with the building department and the fire department. So in this case, and there's other kinds that can happen from other organizations as well in terms of the city, that there can be other inspections. So in this example, there were actually 4 inspections that were conducted to issue the business license. Fire conducted on July 24th, 2025, and there were 3 conditions that were identified in that inspection. Police and planning, ironically, both on July 28th, and there were no conditions with those inspections. Building on July 30th with 7 conditions. And as a result of you've heard about our ERP and EnerGov and EPL, within the licensing module of the system, we received all the appropriate paperwork back from those departments after their inspections. It doesn't happen that day, but it happens soon thereafter. We were able to issue the business license in August 2025. So then, in anticipation of where we would be tied to September 10th, coming up the next month, on September 18th, Cathedral City Code Compliance visited the C4 dispensary location and reported these 3 bullets: no retail signage, no posted hours of operation, and a locked entry door. Subsequent, the next month, on October 13th, Code Compliance staff revisited the facility, reported the same 3 things, and then the final point was no evidence of a retail business in operation. Subsequently, the next month, on November 11th, Mr. Bernard emailed city staff that dispensary operations ceased that day. Pictures from October 13th, and you can see when Code Compliance visited, there were a few more pictures than just this, but here's a few highlights. Outside, inside, both with a counter standpoint and what appears to be another part of the dispensary where you can see some bottles are in the picture. So let's talk a little bit about the state of California. The state of California, Title IV, California Code of Regulations, the CCR, requires licenses to record any kind of activity that happens in what's called metric. Please do not ask what does metric stand for, but it is the California trace and track system, and how they got metric out of that I do not know, because even if you use the Google, you will find out that metric just is defined as the trace and track system, or track and trace system. I highlight all of the items that are in that CCR, but actually point to the last bullet for you to take a gander at, because that's what we're talking about tied to tonight, is the sale or donation of cannabis or cannabis products for that reporting. But you can see from the bullets up above, cultivation, manufacturing, these other bullets, they also have to report on that, but those bullets are not necessarily germane to tonight's discussion. But I did want to share. So take back that metric on the previous slide, and let's talk about tax returns. So for August 2025, the city received a tax return identifying $409 in sales. When you have a tax return submitted, it is also incumbent, based on the previous slide, for the entity to report into metric. So we, in this example, went into metric, and we actually validated in metric at that time that there were 4 items listed totaling $60. They were $15 each. So that was a discrepancy for us of the $60 vice the $409. Subsequent, at some point in time, don't know how, don't know when, because there is a 24-hour reporting requirement, and there's a 72-hour window potentially to make changes, and this was well after the 72 hours. The the metric was updated for those same 4 items, totaling $393.32, which is still a discrepancy from the $409.50. For September 2025, no sales were reported in a tax return, and that reports what was reported in metric. So that goes back to about 8 or 10 slides before when I talked about a month. What does a month mean? Because there are emails, there is dialogue back and forth between the city and C4, tied to the fact of, in one example, is the month a calendar month? And then as I said, the bean counter and me chimed in on an email to tie back to, well, with a September 10th renewal date, if you look at the municipal code and you talk about the prior month, I'm going backwards from September 10th, to August. And so in that example, not looking at a calendar month. So that's the difference that I shared with you early on in the presentation about how do we define a month.
So Kevin, so you're defining the month not from the 1st to the 30th, but from the time of renewal? If it's the 15th, every 15th to the 15th, the prior month is the sales.
That is an interpretation, but some people would go with what you said, Mayor Pro Tem, and that is a month is the calendar month. So then that ties back to here, in this example, in August, there were sales. Not worried about the amounts and any differences. In September, there were no sales. So for those first 10 days of September, there were no sales that happened. So that's where it ties back to is a month from what I defined it as, but I also acknowledge and recognize some people can look at a month being a calendar month. So just wanted to get that out there.
Now, is someone going to show us where in an ordinance does it state the month?
That was on the first slide, sir. In the ordinance, it just says proof of purpose that I can go back to ties back to a tax return being reported for the month. So when that ordinance was created in 2023, was there an error in not defining what a month meant? Could be.
Okay.
And then back also to your question, so we're now into the second renewal. This is the discussion of the second renewal when you asked the question, sir, earlier on. Was this the first renewal or the second renewal after the ordinance? We're now into the second renewal.
The first renewal, what
was the
dates?
hardship one that the city manager approved back in 2024.
Oh, okay, got it.
So moving on, October 2025, the city received a tax return identifying $1,421 and change in sales. Metric shows 36 transactions totaling $1,296. For November of 2025, the city did not receive a tax return. However, Metric shows 37 transactions totaling $1,700. The good news on the 37 transactions, those 37 transactions, the last one is dated November 10th. And we received notification from C4, from Mr. Bernard, that they ceased operations on November 11th. So the transactions that were reported for November were prior to November 11th.
November 11th, Mr. Bernard called you regarding that there was no longer.
He sent an email, sir.
Was that because they were notified that their license was no longer valid?
The notification actually happened prior to, and an actual letter was October the 14th, which is an attachment in your agenda packet. So the actual formal notification via a letter happened on October 14th. There was email correspondence prior to, and then we documented it in an actual letter attached.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to share the concept of metric and tax returns so that you had that information presented. So the Muni Code provides that an expired license may only be renewed during a 3-month window after its expiration. So when you look at September 10th, it's totally ironic. September 10th plus 3 months gets us to December 10th. And we actually had a scheduled council meeting on December 10th, as you all are aware. So with the license expiring on September 10th, it became invalid and any operations under the expired license were required to be ceased. So tied to the Muni Code section 588.055, expired licenses may only be renewed within that 3-month window after the expiration date. Hence, a December 10th date was established for that appeal. That all worked out. However, with the unusual circumstances of Councilmember Carnevale passing away on November 16th, there was a request to delay the appeal to tonight, February 25th. And that appeal, due to those unusual circumstances, the city manager at the time, our interim city manager, approved that request. CC4 Industries subsequently, as you know, submitted a request, and the city manager tied back to that is now overcome by events. This was something that was in the staff report, so that request to extend for 2 months to May 27th is no longer applicable. So that bullet can be stricken. So as the recommendation in the staff report is to conduct a public hearing, and that was what will be happening tonight, to consider an appeal of city staff's denial of the dispensary license for CC Industry doing business as C4 USA. And before you is for City Council to either affirm, reverse, or modify in whole or in part city staff's decision to deny the renewal of the license. Keep in mind, it's purely the dispensary license. And on that note.
All right, Council, any questions to this point that
And
haven't
Mayor-
been asked?
Mayor,
Yes.
before you move on to the next, I'm going to read 2 sections of the ordinance that you've already put into evidence for the council.
Thank you.
This is from Ordinance 870. It is section, just jumped on me, my apologies. This is in section 588.055, section B, 4, little b. For a second and subsequent renewal application, proof that commercial cannabis activity permitted by the license has been occurring on the premises for the previous 12 consecutive months. Tax returns submitted pursuant to section 3.48.080 of this code showing that taxable commercial cannabis activity occurred on the premises shall be sufficient proof. Also, under 4E, unless administratively continued pursuant to subsection A. Subsection A has to do with a unique circumstance not applicable here. A local license is immediately invalid upon expiration of the cannabis business, and the cannabis business shall cease operations. If a local license expires, the local licensing authority may approve a renewal of the expired license at any time up to 3 months from the expiration date of the license. After the license has been expired for 3 months, the license may not be renewed by the local licensing authority, and the holder of the expired license must apply for and obtain a new cannabis license to resume operations. Thank you.
So I am happy that you read that section because in the background section of the staff report, it doesn't have that one. It has the 5.88055B4A, which refers to the first renewal.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes,
I
please.
think this actually is one of the subjects that came up in staff's deliberations on this appeal. And this actually goes back to the 2024 decision by the prior city manager to extend the renewal of their license. And that was a hardship case. That hardship case was subsection 4C of the same ordinance, ordinance number 870. And if you'll permit me to read that, the local licensing authority may renew a license not meeting the requirements of subparagraphs A or B above if the renewal application demonstrates unique or extraordinary circumstances that has impacted the ability of the cannabis business to conduct commercial cannabis activity on the premises, including but not limited to fire, flood, or other act of God resulting in substantial damage to the premises, or a delay in the issuance of necessary licenses, permits, or other approvals necessary to conduct the commercial cannabis activity at no fault of the applicant. So it was in August of 2024 that CC Industry had requested an additional year extension following the adoption of ordinance number 870 under this condition, under 4C. So not the first renewal, not anything else other than this act of God. And that was in reliance on Tropical Storm Hillary. We don't have written confirmation of that. This was a verbal discussion. And as I said, staff deliberated this. So if we granted the extension under 4C and allotted them an additional year to become operational and considered that to be the first renewal, it would be impossible for them to meet the 12-month standard under 4B. So I think going back to perhaps some of the challenges that we have with ordinance number 870, that is one of them. So as staff reviewed the renewal of this license application, although there was a prior extension in 2024 by the then city manager under 4C, we considered this request, the request before the city council this evening, under 4A, because they couldn't meet that 12-month test if they were granted the prior extension. So for tonight, staff's view was that this is a test of 4A, whether they meet the requirements of that. And I think this is a good opportunity as well to look at the intent of ordinance number 870. And the intent of this ordinance was to curtail the practice of holding and renewing a license for cannabis businesses that are not in operation. And I think as staff reviewed the facts, reviewed the circumstances, that was the conclusion. Although there were some de minimis sales reported for that period of time, everything we saw was that the dispensary was not in operation, and that led staff to deny the renewal based on section 5.88.055 B4A of the Cathedral City Municipal Code.
Thank you for that clarification. Appreciate that.
So let me ask you a question. This section, or all these sections that you, or at least A and B, they speak of a tax return submitted pursuant to section 3.48.080 of this code. But I don't see that section anywhere. So what does that section say?
3.48 is where we tie back to the actual submission of the taxes. It is in chapter 3, which is revenue and finance
Okay.
of the municipal code.
So can we see that section? Since it's referred to in here, it might, at least I might find it relevant or not if we saw it, but I don't see it included anywhere here in the package.
And it was not. You are correct. Are you going to pull up the muni code? Thank you.
It says I didn't look it up.
Mayor, that section of code is titled Returns and Remittances. And that provides instructions on the payment of cannabis taxes.
All right, well, I would like to see it or have someone analyze it, because we're down to the point where we have some returns and there may be some question as to their validity. And then there's been raised this issue of when's a month, and does that section of the municipal code have any relevance to define a month?
I think there's several ways that we can.
Section A says all cannabis businesses subject to this chapter shall honor before the last day of the month following the close of each calendar month, or such different reporting period as may be established by the city manager or the city manager's designee. So it's either the calendar month or it's a separate month if the city manager has designated the month in the license.
And we don't have any evidence that there was another month designated, which would make us assume that it's a calendar month.
And that's
Do you
why I
have
brought
any
up-
evidence there was a different type of month that was agreed upon by the city manager or ordered by the city manager?
Are you talking about from the previous year?
Talking about in general, in compliance with that section that he just read. It said a month is a calendar month unless the city manager has set some different type of month.
And that goes back to that definition of, is it the 30 days prior to the renewal date, or is it the prior calendar month?
So the code that was just read, city attorney, you can help me here. It seems to indicate that it's going to be a calendar month unless the city manager had set some other month. Do you have any evidence that the city manager set some other month? Does anyone else in staff? No. I'm just trying to draw a conclusion. I would assume that we're saying that it would be a calendar month, unless somebody has some evidence different. All right.
Do we have any information that somebody else thought differently?
Thought differently?
That it wasn't a calendar month?
That was me. So that was where I shared with CC Industry that I was counting 30 days back from September the 10th because that was the renewal date. And so when it talks about to be in business for the month prior of your renewal or your license date. So that's on me with respect to that interpretation. Because in the code, it does not say calendar month, and it doesn't give, we don't have any evidence of what you requested with respect to that. So that's the difference of what is a month. Is a month the prior month versus the 30 days
So I'm still
from
lost.
that date.
I'm still lost. So, and this may all be moot because, so even if you use the September 10th back to August 10th as the month period that is in question, one of the reports lists some sales.
For the
Do
month.
you know when they occurred? Are they claiming those occurred before August 10th?
August sales, and we received a tax return. There's a discrepancy in the amounts, but on what was reported to the California state system. But August, there were sales, and we received a tax return.
When in August?
Yeah,
What
dates.
day?
A tax return,
What day were the sales?
that's in the metric system. But in the tax return, I'm just sharing with you, we don't have.
That's not the question I'm asking. I'm asking, do we have any evidence
What days,
anywhere
Patrick?
that says what days?
All four sales were August 29th.
Okay, so they would have been in the month regardless of the definition.
They were in the month August 29th.
Okay, so I don't know if we need to really dig into that a whole lot more. So, because they would have occurred in the month. The insinuation was on this, a month maybe this or a month maybe that, is that sales may have fallen outside the period, depending on how you defined it.
correct.
But if they occurred on August 29th, or if that's the evidence that's been presented, then I would say that's kind of moot. Is there, city attorney, is there anything else in that section that talks about the adequacy of what a tax return is?
The section.
And I'm seeing you have.
Eric, are you in 348.080?
Yes.
That's what I have up on the screen.
Yeah.
Council, are you able to see it on your screen?
No, not on our screen.
No, mine went away too, so I'm trying to get it back.
There are a number of requirements in this section. I can read them out loud if you would like me to do that.
Well, I'm most trying to find if there's anything relevant to what was filed.
I think that's just saying if you've paid taxes.
I know that this is in C, each such return shall contain a declaration under penalty of perjury executed by the cannabis business or authorized agent, that to the best of the signatory's knowledge, the statements in the return are true, correct, and accurate.
So they are required to be accurate.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. I don't have any other questions about that section then.
Any other points to clarify in
I'd like
this
just
section?
a minute to read these.
So is that section also being admitted into evidence since we've discussed it today? City Attorney?
We would ask that the council take notice of this section, yes.
All right, thank you. All right, City Manager, do you have anything else for your part of the case?
No, thank you.
All right.
So I'm
Any other questions?
It was just the clarification. So for it says here for 9/10/2023 through 9/10/2024, with multiple emails prior to and during the renewal process, staff notified you of the requirement of proof that commercial cannabis activity permitted by the license had been occurring on the premises for the previous month, which has not been satisfied. Then there was the conversation with Assistant City Manager Ann Ambrose and Charlie McClendon, and at the time, Mayor Mark Carnevale. So then, for the next paragraph, and this is the part that was the relevant part, is that for the next license renewal period, 9/10/24 to 9/10/25, it appears the dispensary was not opened and operating on a continuous basis. And based on the observations and analysis of code enforcement, it was not a functioning dispensary. So there may have been sales in between then, but by the picture, if the pictures are, an indication, it was not an operating dispensary. So is that the way I'm just reading it as I see it?
Councilmember Lamb, if I
is that
can
correct?
respond to that. Yes.
Okay.
That is staff's opinion.
Okay,
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's a conclusion.
yes, I just wanted to.
All right, any other questions right now?
I do.
Mayor Pro Tem. And then-
Kevin, is it part of the ordinance, or is it customary for us to issue a license when there's no signage and no hours of operation, and when there's no product available for sale? Is it customary, or do we issue a license prior to all that? Or does it need to have signage, hours of operation, and does it need to have also product ready for sale the very second the license is issued?
When the inspections are done, the departments can note any of their, call it a punch list. And so there were 3, and then there were 7 tied to that. But that would not stop us from issuing the license. That would just be a notification that these things need to be done. And so as a result of, from those 4 departments that did on-site inspections and submitting passing inspections in the system, that then in turn provided us the go-ahead and the impetus to issue the business license.
So we issued a business license, and then and none of this was done. Then we're dealing with the renewal, and none of this has been done.
So the business license was 40 days. The business license was there for them 40 days prior to the renewal then of the cannabis license, so that they could operate their business during that 40 days. And then the tie-in was then and that business license is good for a year. The tie-in then is on the 10th of September. If the license is renewed, then they would have the concurrency of having the cannabis license for dispensary renewed, along with the business license that was issued, and they had for 40 days prior to the renewal of the cannabis license.
So were both licenses, the cannabis, agricultural or growing part of it, cultivation, was that going to be issued
The
and
cultivation,
expired from currently?
the other two licenses were issued, sir. So when we actually issued for September the 10th, they previously had 3 licenses, cultivation, distribution, and retail or dispensary. We issued the renewal with the first 2 licenses, with cultivation and with distribution. We did not issue and include the dispensary retail because of what we had done through our process. And it was our determination to not renew the dispensary license only.
I just find it hard to understand why was the license even issued in the first place prior to a renewal, right? The license was to be renewed.
The
They
license
already had a
was-
license, cultivation. We're talking, not cultivation, we're talking about dispensary.
So, Mayor Pro Tem, if I may answer the question, the business license really was the last step for them to occupy and use the dispensary space. That's why you had fire, building, police, planning staff walk through that. That was the last step they needed in order to occupy and make use of the space. So in late July, C4 received authorization from all of the entities for the use of the space, and that business license was issued in August.
So we're talking about 2 different licenses. One
They
was
are-
a dispensary, and another one was the business license.
The dispensary
Yes.
cannabis license and the business license.
They needed the business license. That was a prerequisite to use the space. So that was approved, that was authorized, granted in early August. They had all of the clearances from the city to become operational, to stand up the dispensary and to use that space.
Okay, thank you.
May I clarify something?
Yes, please.
myself? So I'm looking at the returns and remittances. And I guess my question is, do we have any other Cathedral City documents that refer to Code of Ordinance, Title III Revenue and Finance, and 3.48 cannabis tax that refers to other than the day of the month following the close of each calendar month? Do we have any documentation? Do we have any state law? Do we have anything that you're aware of that speaks other than what this says right here? I mean, you said you sent it at an erroneous time, but is there any ordinance, is there any law that backs that?
I don't believe so.
Thank you.
Kevin, I have one more question. When you talk about the Merck report to the state and the tax returns to the city that must match, what happens when they don't match? What do we do?
So that's why we do audits. So when we do audits on dispensary retail and we use our third-party vendor and we go back 3 years, that's part of what happens in the audit mode from a standpoint of comparing what we received in a tax return with the remittance and what was reported to the state in metric. And many times that's what happens when we have audit findings tied to that 3-year period to be able to identify and show this is what you reported to the state. Sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower, but we use that as a validation. And then that then ties back to when our third-party auditors produce an audit report, and then we also tie back to what's due plus the penalties and the interest for the fact that they did not report properly. So we do that when we do audits, sir.
And how does it get resolved? You do the audit, and let's say to Matrix, it was reported $20,000 in sales, but to the city, let's say it was $25,000. How do you resolve it? Or it was vice versa?
We look at that 3-year period. If we go back 3 years, that's what the longest we've ever done for an audit period is back 3 years. But when we go back, then we tally that up month by month. Many months they match. So, but we tally that up, and then that's how it gets resolved, because then we present an audit report for the vendor to then submit a remittance to us.
Is there any penalty involved?
Penalty and interest in the municipal code, 25% penalty and 0.5% interest per month.
And there's no, nothing to do with a license, suspension of a license, if this happens a second or third time?
We haven't gone down and done that rodeo yet, sir, from a longevity standpoint. That potentially could be something that could be looked at for a potential update to the municipal code for something tied to that, if we would see that kind of recurrence.
And what happens with the state, with Matrix, if they don't match? Let's say they're not reporting the same with the city and the state. What's the consequences with the state?
The state isn't part of that. We're the ones that actually tie back to what gets reported with us versus what the state. Now, the state also does their own audits, whether it's dispensary, cultivation, or manufacturing, or the other 3 licenses that we don't have tax returns on. They have their own auditing arm and with respect to their own reporting.
And do they have consequences when they don't match?
There are licenses that have been not renewed by the state, or they're licenses that they've said cease and desist.
Okay.
But that's in their ballpark, and we're not involved.
Okay, thank you. I might have.
We do receive
additional
notification.
questions.
We do receive notification, but we are not involved.
All right, yeah, you'll have the opportunity for
Thank you.
questions later on. Any other questions of staff before we hear the appellant? All right, thank you so much. We'll be
you.
taking a 10-minute recess, and we'll be hearing the appellant when we return at 7:36.
Perfect.
This is your 1-minute warning.
I don't know. I don't know.
Christina's cup. Look at her screen. Her screen is wonderful.
I don't know why.
Oh, that
Or
must,
how.
yeah, I'm not sure. Now we're green? All right, thank you so much. I'm going to call the city council meeting back to order and our public hearing back to order. And next up is the appellant, CC Industry LLC, doing business as C4 USA. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Lisa Slaughter. I'm the attorney for the appellant, representing them in this matter of the appeal. I want to start out by just saying in general, this is really a case of intention, staff direction, application of the ordinance, and unintended consequences, quite frankly, if we boil it down. I'm going to try to move quickly through some of the areas that we are already in agreement on, which is that the code section that applies is 4A, which is this would be a first renewal. So then becomes the question of tax returns and what is a month. I'm going to start out briefly by the chronology is really important here. As you see, back in July 18 on 2025, we reached out, or David Bernard, who's here today, in case there are additional questions or something that the council would like to ask that I can't answer, reached out in July asking, hey, we're ready to renew. Patrick said at that particular time, you need to have sales in the month of August to pay taxes on by the end of September. That's July 31st, 2025. There's no mention of what a month is. It's called August. So this is the ordinance A. Here, the expiration date, which you've already seen, so I won't read it again. Here, the expiration date was September 10th, making the previous month August 2025. And again, it's quoting the code and the Revenue and Finance Section 3.48.080. It does not say the 30-day period immediately preceding the expiration date, which if council was going to modify the ordinance, that might be language that would be very specific to be put in there. However, just as a note, that doesn't follow traditional tax filing, which is done at the end of the month, both in the state and here in the city regarding cannabis taxes. So now the tax return and the question addressed earlier regarding metric. Here's the tax return for August, signed September 4th. As you can see, there actually is signage here that the dispensary was open. So the city's speculation on the metric sales number is not a finding, it's math. So when you look at the metric reports, which is what the city looked at in terms of the sales, you see the sales and you see the amounts. For example, and it's a little difficult to read, but you have Space Super White Widow, which God only knows what that is, but you had 5 of them sold at $15. And you see that continually with other products here. So if you look on the left-hand side, you can see the transaction, $15 times 5 is $75. Do that times 4 transactions and you come up with sales of $300. Then you have sales and excise tax, which is reported, for a total of $409.50. That's what we have on the tax return, $409.50. Yes?
That's for August.
Yes. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez, that is August. So C4 took the following actions in August. They conducted retail sales, they filed the required tax returns, and they maintained metric compliance. Staff never, until the October 14th letter, We never received any information that the city had any issue with what was reported in metric versus the tax return. And again, that would have been done at an audit, but we certainly would have come up and said, okay, let's take a look. Maybe something got input in metric incorrectly, which occasionally happens. You have a lot of volume of product there with the dispensary as well as with the cultivation, but we received no notice. Again, here's another email from the 25th of September. So this is Kevin regarding Patrick, and at least for 1 month of the previous 12 months. In that case, excuse me, I'm sorry. It says is due for renewal in September and the dispensary needs to be in business, open to the public for at least 1 month of the previous 12 months. That would be August. Then for some reason he says if that's the case, C4 license will be renewed all except for the dispensary. Let me confirm dates. Again, we see another email here, the 23rd. Municipal code states being open for the previous month. The tax return for August and September. We actually did submit a September tax return, and I believe, but I'd like to be corrected if I'm wrong, that September tax return was in the staff report as part of the documentation. Regarding the tax return submitted, we will validate with the state for the sales reported to them for their metric system. Again, we didn't hear back that they found a discrepancy between what was reported in metric and what was reported in the tax returns. At that particular point, Mr. Bernard said, we've provided you with all the correspondence. We were told it was a month, the month of August. We've satisfied that. Do we need to be continual? Have we expired? We were in a bit of a limbo, especially on October 2nd. And remember, in the state of California, under MCRSA, you cannot buy inventory unless you have a license, because I am not going to retail it to you unless I know you are a licensed retailer. And if your local permit has been expired, because no new permit was ever issued. So it had expired on September 10th. So anything that we would attempt to buy after September 10th, no one would have sold it to C4. Then on October the 14th, we received the letter which is referenced in the record saying, these are the reasons we're going to deny. So then David had correspondence with Ann Ambrose and who said, and unfortunately introduced some more confusion into whether or not the license was still active, said since you'd already received notice, make a formal request. Staff has taken no steps to cancel your license at this time while it's still under review. Well, this is the 17th. The letter was the 14th. The letter seemed to say, no, you can't operate. We're not going to renew your license, which expired September 10th. And yet we get a subsequent email saying, nobody's really told you no, so go ahead, question mark. Again, C4 took that as the ability to try to attempt to maintain and be continuously operational once you had renewed, so acted in good faith. So these are sales that you see in October, literally hours after that email, C4 began sales again. If I went too fast on that slide, let me know if that's sufficient. It's a lot of small print. So here's the chain of events demonstrating continual operational readiness. One, in August 2025, you had active operations. September 13th, because that's where some of the pictures, I believe, are taken, Mr. Bernard informed staff that they were temporarily closing in order to install a perimeter fence between the dispensary and between the cultivation, and I'll go back and show you where that is in a second, because what was happening was a public safety concern and a potential violation of MCRSA, the state rules, as well as Cathedral City rules, which means you can't go into a cultivation facility unless you're an employee or you're a city personnel. What was happening is the public, not seeing several doors in the front, was going into the cultivation looking for the dispensary. So there's a perimeter fence there now that can be closed, so the public is directed to the dispensary.
Who caught that? The city or was
We
it C4?
did.
Okay.
We did,
And
because
did you notify the city about it?
we did. Absolutely, we did.
In writing?
Yes, we do have that in writing. And I will have David come up in a little bit and talk about that specifically, but yes, we did notify them. And then we still had product in there. We didn't sell out the first time, so we still had product there. It takes on average approximately 2 weeks to get inventory in California. And again, you have to have a license that says you're legal. Otherwise, we could all go to a store and just buy up almost everything they have and say, we're opening up our own dispensary. That store would not sell it to you. It couldn't sell it to you. It would be illegal. Once there was some clarity from Ms. Ambrose, we opened again, demonstrating there was not an abandonment, there's no warehousing, there's a continuous intent to continue this business.
You have pictures or evidence of that?
Evidence of?
That you continue to operate, and you did have, because the city did offer us pictures of pretty much
in
the
October.
countertop. Now, after, do you have any evidence that you did have?
So are you referring to October and November
Yes.
pictures? Not that I'm aware of. We'll have to double check with David, but not that I'm aware of. We just have reference of the metric sales.
But you couldn't have it anyway.
Pardon?
But you couldn't have product or purchase product anyway.
Product was already in there from August, the purchase of August, but able to get more product. I mean, they geared up to be able to operate in August, but again, you need to continually refresh your inventory. So until you had another license, does that make sense?
Okay.
Not when your sales were $15.
I'm sorry?
Not when the sales were $15 in a day. That sounds like it'd take you a long time to run out of product.
Well, I can have David talk to you about what the inventory is, but again, there's gearing up for business. It was newly opened. I believe there are 10 dispensaries in Cathedral City. We have to get on weed maps. It takes a good time to be able to start developing your market and start advertising.
Well, these were sales, though, that I saw on that
Yes.
platform. And are you saying when you geared up for sales, $60 was how much you geared up for?
No, that's why I'm saying there was a considerable inventory there. The sales were slow. I wouldn't equate sales with inventory, if that's what you're asking.
No, that's not what I'm asking. I was asking about those particular amounts. So you're saying you have 3.5, okay, go on.
Okay.
It's okay.
I want to make sure I understand your...
We may circle back to it.
Okay, thank you. So there's not an intent to warehouse here. There's not an intent not to operate or to just hold on to the license. This is the ultimate farm-to-table experience here in Cathedral City, where you can have people look at the cultivation facility and literally buy what you just are familiar with in terms of the amount that's grown here and some of the brands and that C4 grows for that are well-known brands here that can be purchased in the dispensary. It's got great parking, it's good visibility, so there's absolutely an impact and a benefit to the city. There's 6 jobs, high-paying jobs, additional tax revenue. And one of the pictures too, by the way, that was shown where you have water bottles, that was actually part of a consumption lounge which they do not have. And they're not renewing a consumption lounge.
When you say 6 jobs, 6 full-time employees, how many were there at the time?
I'm going to have David answer that for you, if I may, and have him come up. David, do you want to come up now? And maybe answer Councilmember Ross's question too.
You have a slide on the screen right now that doesn't appear to have anything to do with your dispensary. When you're talking about
this,
you haven't talked about what it is, but.
Oh, I'm sorry. The economic impact, this is specific to the dispensary only. This is.
So you sold $3.5 million?
No, this is the projected conservative estimate. That would be great if we sold $3.5 million. This is a projected annual revenue and projected taxes.
And it's based on what? You said it was based on something?
Yeah, I could speak to that.
Yes.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We did a business model analysis, and based on the square footage of the facility, existing competition in Cathedral City, and the direct farm to dispensary business model, the range in revenue projected was roughly $2 million to $6 million annually. So based on the budget that we allocated for marketing, we had assumed that with a proper ramp-up schedule within the dispensary that we would achieve about 3.5 million. So, and I can answer the question around staffing. So during the ramp-up window of the dispensary, which was the August to September window, we had a sales associate and a sales manager that was active in the dispensary. They stayed employed through this entire time. And once we received notice from Ann, we had 3 full-time employees in the dispensary.
That was during the opening period, and it would be ramped up to a total of 6, so an additional 3 more had they stayed operational.
3 during the 1 month
Yes,
period?
yes.
The ramp-up window, August to September, was 2 employees, and then after we received the notice from Ann that the license was still technically active or not canceled, we had an additional employee hired, so that was 3 total.
Till November?
Yeah, it was about a month, and then we had 1 employee laid off once we received the formal notice from Andy on November 10th that the license was officially denied.
So 6 full-time employees would be at like full capacity?
At full capacity.
At this projected
Correct.
revenue?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Now, with 6 employees, would you be able to operate this facility from what time to what time?
We would expect operations to be 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. was what we were expecting. So 2 bud tenders and then a swing shift manager is what we were going to have, so, yeah.
And how long from, if you started tomorrow, would you need to get to 6 employees? You would start with presumably 2 again, maybe a third, then you'd get to 6. How long would that sort of ramp-up period take to be at full capacity?
Yeah, if there was no assumptions around license validity and we had a clear runway to fund and to, build the inventory and the marketing, 6 employees would probably take us about a month. We would do the recruitment process, we would have to rehire a manager, and then, yeah, it would be about a month or so.
So you'd fully staff up to 6, like day 1?
Not day 1, no. We would have the 2 employees start, and then we would work towards having the 6 employees within a month.
Okay, thank you.
Now, to the attorney, how did, you mentioned something that this was the first renewal. How did you determine that?
It's determined a couple of ways. One is, and it was also confirmed here by City Manager Firestein, it was also referenced in several of the emails. For example, here you have in September 23rd, 2025, and I have earlier versions of this, where the code section up above, 5.88.055.B4A, that's a first renewal. That's the code section it references.
So this is an email from Kevin Biosack to David.
Yes.
So we're talking about A, 4A.
Yes, that's the first renewal. I believe there was another one. Again, by inference in July, 7/31. Sales of the month of August, because again, section B says it's continuous, 12 months. And obviously with the first renewal, it's not possible to have the 12 months of continuous operation.
Now, when you close for a month during the construction of the fence,
We just keep bouncing
did you
around.
bring,
Just stay
did you,
silent.
you brought this up to staff?
Yes, I'm going to have David talk about that.
Okay. Was this on email or phone conversation? How was this brought up?
It was brought up through, we had an open fencing permit at the time, and so we had email correspondence with Kevin. I had prompted a request to clarify excise tax in the tax return that we were filing for September, and he had made a comment. That was the first that we had heard about any issues with the license in general, whether it be metric or the non-operation at the time. We had started construction of the fence in early September, and we had security concerns, again, with the personnel movement, the public moving in with our employees. And I had notified Kevin in the email exchange when he had made the comment about the dispensary not being operational. I had made the comment that, due to security concerns and the need to maintain regulatory status on the cultivation side not accessible to public, that we had proceeded with the fencing, and when the fencing was completed, that the dispensary would be back up and running.
So there's both a fence permit that would be on record as well as an email.
Yep.
And the email is just you actually, or C4 actually addressing the city. What was the response from the city?
Kevin's response, I'd have to look back at my notes. Kevin's response was that there needed to be continual operation, and due to the lack of continual operation, that he would not see a renewal of the dispensary license. And at that time, it seemed that the renewal requirement within that email thread had shifted from the A section to the B section, which I had asked him to clarify, because the only continual operation comment that comes up in any of the code section is in B. And we had always been referencing the A section. So I had requested him to clarify, and I also had mentioned that if it was a stipulation that we would lose the license for not continually operating, that we would open the business immediately, regardless of the security concern.
Was that an email
That was
correspondence?
yeah, that was an email, absolutely. And there was no response to that email, which prompted me to reach out to Ann. And then when I reached out to Ann, there was correspondence in terms of requesting clarification on the license status, because we were in a position where we didn't know under Kevin's assumptions if we were legally allowed to operate.
Do you have that email which you sent to Kevin regarding such?
Yeah, I think it might be.
And that was at the time, what was the date on that?
Our first correspondence with Kevin would have been, I think, September, like late September, September 23rd, I think, if you go back a couple.
Regarding the fence?
Regarding the fence, it would have been within the same email exchange here. So it would have, there was a running, list, which was actually included in a submittal that I had provided to council prior to us submitting the full notice to appeal. And then this is all referenced in our formal notice to appeal.
I think it'd be helpful to know the exact timing around the fence, because there's dates on the photographs of when it was not operational. If those times match, that sort of gives us some information that I don't think we have right now.
Yeah, so there's a slide in here that references September 13th was officially when we stopped.
Mr. Bernard, can you speak into the microphone? I do want to make sure the stream is picking you up as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so September 13th was a Saturday. That was technically the first day that the business was not open for sale. So we had September 13th until the formal notice or the clarification from Ann, in which from the September 13th date till we had clarification from Ann, that entire window, the dispensary was not operating.
Which was when?
It would have been, if you go back to her email, let's see here, let's see if I can figure this out. Yeah, so September 13th was when we closed the dispensary for the fence upgrade, and Ann's email was on October 17th.
Okay.
And so during this entire window, I was in contact with Kevin requesting clarity on what the renewal requirement was, because there was conflict between the A requirement and the B requirement. And through the lack of response, that when I had asked him to clarify if we were allowed to operate so that we could satisfy the continual operation requirement, I didn't get a response. I reached out to Ann, and at that same time, this was actually, 10/13, I received the formal notice that the license was denied. And at that time, I had reached out to Mark Carnival. I had talked to him as my local council member, asked him if he had any guidance that he could provide. He recommended that I speak to the city manager. So what I did is emailed Ann. I asked for clarity. And there was about a 2 to 3 day internal review. I'm assuming that it happened where there was discussions with staff. And she had came back and replied with this email on the 17th saying, staff has taken no steps to cancel your license at this time while it is still under review.
So that would account for why there were 0 sales in September?
That's correct, yeah. And again, to, the original comment that was made, it was when you are setting up a new dispensary, there's an onboarding process with distributors, there's a whole vetting and credit check system that they do. So it's not like we get the license and immediately all the shelves are full. So it took about a week to 2 weeks to really get everything moving. And at that time was when we started having customers come in. They'd look at what we had in stock. Our inventory was still building. They might see things they like, they might
This is in
not.
August you're talking about?
This is in August,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. And just for clarity, you had no sales in September. You had sales in October after you resumed
That's correct, yep.
from the email from Ann. And then you had sales in November,
We had sales in November up until we
until
received.
the 11th.
Yeah, until we received the notice from Andy.
Okay.
Now, why didn't you have hours of operation and signage?
During that photo is because the dispensary was closed technically because we were doing the fencing work to secure the perimeter. So prior to that, there was signage during standard.
Prior to that, there was
Prior to that,
signage?
there was signage.
Can you show that photograph?
Yeah.
Yes.
'Cause it-
One thing I'd like to point up is that I don't think it's a consideration for council to maybe clarify that when there are public safety issues involved, is a dispensary not allowed to close down in order to address those public safety issues, which is the case here. And I don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, if there's anything in the code that says, no, that's not allowed, particularly here when we provided notice that we were closing down and reopened immediately after the fence.
So
and
we're
had
here to
sales.
receive information from you. We're not going to try to make some legal judgment.
No, I understand.
mean, it's a rhetorical question, it's fine, but you're saying you're
No,
going to ask us to clarify.
Well, meaning not right now, immediately. No, I'm referring to potential future ordinance clarifications.
Okay.
And you said previously that in August, you were stocking up, for lack of a better word.
That's
You didn't, that wasn't the word you said, but
Yeah.
you were
Yeah.
stocking the shelves.
Starting the business, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely staffing.
And so in October, you were using the previous stock, is that correct?
We were we were using previous stock, and when we received the notice from Ann, then we started to restock as well.
Got it. And you're not using stock from your own cultivation?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
I can see the picture of the front door, and I can see something that says open, but can you help me understand what it says beneath there?
Yeah, I can read that. Hours Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
No, on the black, there's a black something.
Must be 21 years or older to enter. So this goes back to Kevin's comments on corrections during the building inspection. There was signage that was required during the building inspection. All of the items that were requested were installed under a correction, and the signage that's posted there was part of the correction, which was the age limit and the no consumption on site.
And the hours of operation.
Yeah, well, actually, the building department did not request hours of operation.
So while you're on this slide, it also shows what we're calling a tax remittance